Hello, I'm Emma B. Perez, life design and career coach for teens and young adults. This Empower Your Teen YouTube channel is all about supporting parents. To learn how your high school or college age child can go from undecided to excited, click the link in the description box. To get even more support as a parent, just stick around by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. Okay, let's get to today's topic. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Empower Your Teen. I'm Emma B. Perez. Now, today we're going to be talking about how a gap year is a great opportunity for young people to develop some skills that are really essential for the workforce of the future. And I have brought in one of the best people to talk about this topic with us. Let me introduce you to Stephen Warley. He liberates people from the frustrations of conventional work by inspiring them to create their own work. With lifeskillsthatmatter.com, he teaches people how to get paid for just being themselves and for what they already know. And let's face it, you guys, there's a good chance that most people will be working for themselves within the next decade because work as we know it is fundamentally changing. So he helps people get more comfortable with managing themselves and designing work that is in alignment with their values, needs, and abilities. Thank you so much, Stephen, for being here today.
Thank you. I mean, I'm just so excited to be able to speak, especially to families, to teenagers who are thinking and open to this way, because I think it's intimidating to think that work as we know it, everything that we were taught is going to completely change. And that has been happening incrementally throughout my time. And now with everything that we have gone through this year with the coronavirus, even I couldn't have predicted this, that work as we know it is fundamentally changing. It's accelerating. We just did a national experiment in working from home, when so many companies said, this can never be done. Turns out it can.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's why I'm so glad that you're here, because a lot of these skills, we hear buzzwords like 21st century skills and things like that. And we're thinking about the future of the workforce. And I also hear employers say that there are skills that they're looking for that they're not quite finding in young people. So a gap year is a great opportunity to really start to focus on that, to step away from the highly structured environment, external motivation environment of school, and to start learning these new skills and how to find some internal motivation. So I want to talk with you about some of these life skills that matter, these skills that can help young people be prepared for future work.
Yeah, I think a very common question I get, Stephen, what is a skill that I can learn right now that I can earn income for maybe like the next 10 to 20 years? And I tell them self-awareness. And people were like, huh? I don't understand. I thought it was coding or software development or something of that nature, something. But as I tell them, soft skills are more durable than hard skills. And what I mean by that is hard skills now are changing so quickly. From all the research that I've seen, the half-life of skills is about 5 years right now. And what that means is when a new skill is introduced into the marketplace, the labor force, on average now across industry professions, it has a life of value for about 5 years. So think about 100 years ago, you could learn a skill and you can count on that skill to pay your bills, to sustain your livelihood for your entire life. Now it's 5 years. So that dramatically changes how we're going to approach our careers, how we're going to create work for ourselves. So that means learning, it continues well beyond college, well beyond like getting a master's degree. It's throughout our career right now. So we really have to learn how to teach ourselves. And that's why I believe the most important life skill is self-awareness, because it is the mother of all skills. It is a skill that teaches you about yourself, about what makes you productive. It is the skill that teaches you about how you like to learn. And believe it or not, the way we were taught to learn We were never asked. We were never invited to that conversation. It was imposed on us. Turns out there's a lot of people in our population that do not thrive in schools and just sitting in a classroom being talked at, right? I made work. I was a decent student and everything, but at the end of the day, I wish I had a very different experience. I wish I could have a gap year or a life like that where I can learn more experientially. And I could stop here because self-awareness is a topic I'm super passionate about.
Yes, I love it because, this is something that I hear from parents a lot of times, that teens just don't really they're not very self-aware. Maybe they don't have the capacity, but at the same time, they're not really given that much opportunity to really explore that in high school, because everything is given to them. Their schedule is given to them. What they're going to study is given to them. And that's why the transition, especially like you said, with the recent quarantine and everything, the transition was so difficult for young people because they went from being given.
Oh, not just for young people. I've done live video chats just about how to work from home for people in their 60s, 40s, 50s. Like, again, we never realized that we don't know. A lot of people actually don't know how to manage every minute of their day.
Right.
Because we fall into these schedules and these patterns from school into employment. And then the idea of all of a sudden I'm working from home and I put my 2 feet on the floor and I decide how my day is going to go. That used to be a very common idea in most of human history, but in the last 200 years, especially in the last 50 years, it is a very foreign idea. And we're going to start moving back toward that.
Yeah, exactly. So what a great opportunity in a gap year to give a young person the chance to just kind of experiment with having freedom of choice and learning what they need for their own accountability and find their own motivation and things like that as well. So I love it. I love that idea.
And I like that you use the word experiment. And I think that's really how we want to look at a gap year. And as we're experimenting, we want to develop this skill of self-awareness, kind of looking at ourselves as if we're looking at ourselves from a third-party perspective, almost as if you're hovering over yourself. And a couple of just guidelines, and I think that this will help us, create more effective experiments in a gap year. When you're practicing self-awareness, this is not about judging yourself. A lot of times people make that mistake. This is not about self-judgment. This is about self-observation. And this is what I mean by that. If you watched yourself have an interaction with the world or somebody else, and you're watching your behaviors, and then there was an outcome as a result of your behaviors, you just ask yourself, okay, I have these goals and these things I want to do in life. Did this set of behaviors lead to the outcome that's going to help me achieve those goals? Yes or no? It's really that simple. It's not about it was good or it was bad. And I'm a big believer in that because I think it's much more motivating and more positive to really start looking at behaviors in that way. It's observing ourselves like we're a scientist, and then we can really start making these adjustments, and we start becoming. Sometimes it's just being aware of this, and even as a self-awareness exercise, when I often give to people, just notice when you react, like instantaneously, whether it's positive or negative. You're super excited, you get super angry, you get super sad. Just start noticing that you even do it. And then you're going to start being like, wow, I had no idea I kept doing that. And then the next question is, and this is where that another very important life skill combined with self-awareness is curiosity, important for experimentation. It's just saying to yourself, why did I do that? Where did that come from? And you might not know right away, but over time, as you keep observing it, you might start journaling and keep writing it down to see the patterns. You might start asking your family, you might ask some friends, and hopefully some safe, trusted friends as to explore yourself. And you're like, any reasons why you think I do that? And a lot of times then people, they've had the benefit of watching your behaviors your whole life. And they're like, oh yeah, you always do it. This seems to be your trigger. And you're like, oh, I had no idea. You're always like the last person to know. But sometimes it's really helpful information because we want to help you get to where you want to go, make better use of your time, better use of your energy. And if you have a behavior that is not helping you get to where you want to go, it's better to know about that sooner rather than later.
I agree. It's like debriefing. right?
Yeah.
It's looking at, project that you've done or something that, a relationship that you've had, and just kind of doing like a little self debrief. What went well? What didn't go well?
Yeah, and it's not about like
Go
there's a
better
gold
next time.
star, you're gonna get an F or an A. I think that's kind of the shortcomings of our educational system. We set up like there's a right way to do something.
Yeah.
And this might be an epiphany to some people watching right now, but we're now moving into a world where there isn't necessarily a right way to do anything. I mean, I think the coronavirus is showing us that. Like, we're just making up stuff as we go along as best we can, you know? Um, and so I think that is something to keep in mind. And back to that half-life of skills, the value of skills is declining so quickly now because we are now a permanent state of accelerated change. Let me say that again. We are in a permanent state of accelerated change. Things are changing so fast right now that counterintuitively, we actually need to stop more to see if we are still going in the right directions. Many of us, because of modern life, we think more is better, faster is better. But when you just stay in that mode all the time, you might be running in a direction that you don't even realize that you don't want to even run in that direction anymore. So when you stop, you can actually reflect a little bit, have some self-awareness to say, like, do I need to make any adjustments? Do I need to make a pivot? Do I need to go in a different direction right now based on new information that I've received?
I love it. So I really like how you mentioned soft skills versus hard skills. Because things are changing so quickly, there are jobs that high school graduates of right now this year, they will have that don't exist yet. Right?
Crazy.
So that's something that I like to talk about with people as well. When we talk about, because I've had people ask me, how do you prepare kids for jobs of the future? Because let's face it, our education system is preparing kids for a past, the Industrial Revolution. It's set up in that model. And we're preparing them for what has been in the past, not what they are going to be living in their future. So how do you prepare that? And I said the same thing. It's about soft skills. It's about being able to be adaptable, to continue learning, as you said, to being willing to debrief and grow from that. So this is my question for you. Let's say there's a family out there who has a kid who's graduating soon, and he's just like, you know what? I know everyone's saying you're supposed to go to college. You got to go to college to get a good job. But I have this business idea, and I think I might want to work for myself. I think I might want to start this business. But family's going, you're 18. I don't know. Maybe you should go get a business degree. What advice would you have from your perspective?
I'm going to take this in two parts because I get this question kind of a lot of time. One of the most common questions I get is, how do I talk to my loved ones, my mom, my dad, my wife, my husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, my closest friend, about this thing I want to do? And I want to remind people that your loved ones are your first investors. And sometimes they're saying no, or they're trying to talk you out of it, or what comes off as doubting as love. I know it sounds crazy, but they're actually doing it to protect you because what you want to do is unfamiliar to them.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to help them understand what it is that you want to do. Take time and have patience. It's a process of getting them familiarized with whatever it is that you want to do and show that you're getting better at it, that you're happy about it, that you're improving on it. Now, I want to take this. So there's that part, especially the person who wants to do this thing doesn't know how to talk to the other people who are talking them out of it. We also have to teach people how to invest in themselves. Mm-hmm. See, that's what really bugs me when it comes to college. It's one of infinite investment options. Yeah. It's valid. But we've just been in this default state of being like, oh yeah, you should go to college. And like, we'll throw as much money at that as possible. Sure, I'll take debt. I'll be able to pay off that in my life. Really? Why don't you go talk to somebody who's just a few years out of college? I really, really recommend that right now. And ask them how many years it's going to take them to pay off their student loan debt. Mm-hmm. Many people will be in student loan debt for the rest of their lives. Mm-hmm. Why on earth would we want to do that to ourselves, or you'd want to do that to your child? I have no idea. But we need to look at everything as an investment. So if I want, say we'll just take two things, going to college and I want to start this business. really just doing a basic calculation of, this is how much money I'm going to put in over 4 years. This is how much money I'm going to need to start this business over the first year. What are the outcomes we're looking for? What am I going to learn? How much is it going to cost? How much could I make? Right? So with college, you're going to a lot of times get a job that is not going to pay that great in the first few years. So you're going to be that much further in your debt hole. But there is an opportunity of starting a business and exploring those opportunities where you can actually make money a lot sooner than you think, and you have a lot less debt to get that business going. There's so many businesses today you can start with very little money. I often tell people, I'm like, just pay me $5,000 to $10,000 over 6 months or a year. You know, I mean, I'm going to make you money by the end of that. But what I always tell people, one of the greatest self-development exercises I have ever encountered is working for yourself, because working for yourself forces you to learn about yourself. And then I tell people, if you really, really want to know yourself, work for yourself, right? Even if you have no interest of ever starting a business, just take a shot at it for 1 year. Just 1 year, try to work for yourself. You will learn so much about how you like to work, what engages you, what fires you up. And these are really important things, because we're coming out of an economic system where everybody's telling us what to do. That we actually believe that's the source of motivation: money and people telling us what to do.
Yeah.
Turns out, there's been so much research on this brain underneath, like this funny hairdo of mine, right? We've learned so much about it that it actually has a lot of other motivations. And it turns out that it wants more balance. That it really, the more you can feel aligned with yourself and how to do things, that is a longer, sustainable source of motivation than beyond money. Most people actually really don't care if they're filthy rich. They really don't. Most people across the world, even here in the United States, they just want enough to live the life that they want to live. They just want to have the freedom to do things. And in fact, I have a lifestyle calculator that I offer our community that helps people understand, like, what's your number? And so many people, Emma, when they do that, they're like, wow, I'm blown away. I actually need a lot less money than all the things I want to do. I had all these big plans. I didn't realize when I actually took the time to stop, to reflect, have some awareness, do some of these numbers in this spreadsheet, that I don't have to work as much as I did. And I love working, and I love building businesses. But I think more and more of us want and recognize that work is a part of our life, but we just don't want to make it our whole life anymore.
Yep, that's exactly right. I hear that from parents all the time, that they want their kids to live a balanced life, you know?
Or I
And
even say an integrated life. I don't even like work-life balance anymore,
yeah,
because it compartmentalizes things. It's very industrial, right? Like, even, I'll be honest with you, Emma, right now, I'm not sure if I'm working right now or I'm just having a really fun conversation with you know what I mean? That's how my life is. I feel very aligned with your work, and the handful of times that we've talked, we just have amazing conversations. So that's where I'm trying to inspire people to feel like, to go in that direction more and more. Not that you're going to create and turn everything into a work thing, but sometimes you're like, should I be having this much fun right now? Yeah, it's okay. Like, work doesn't have to be miserable in order to be considered work.
right. Exactly. And that's what I talk about with young people too. It's not work life, right? Because that gives too much to work. So our work needs to fit within our life, but there are a lot more aspects to it. And so a gap year is just a really great opportunity for someone to get to explore, experiment, learn these things about themselves, and, like you said, calculate. I really love that you said, sit down, crunch the numbers about what they
It's possible. Like, we actually, can I do a shameless plug right now? Is that possible?
Yeah, do
You
it.
go to lifeskillsthatmatter.com/calculator. It's a spreadsheet. Don't be intimidated by it. I often tell people, just do a little at a time, but it really is illuminating. And we actually have it designed in such a way that you can actually see how many hours you have to work per week, based on your internally hourly rate of any work that you create, or even if you're employed by somebody else. And it really opens your eyes. Like, so many people don't even question the fact that their commute on average, I think in the United States, is something like maybe 45 minutes to an hour every day. Like, whatever your hourly rate is for your full-time job, like, slap it on that commute. like you are paying to
Yeah.
get to your job. And that's not even the gas.
Yeah.
Not even the maintenance on your car.
Yep. Exactly.
And none of that's a tax deduction when you're a full-time employee.
It's just so powerful how crunching numbers can be so powerful, because
Numbers don't lie.
numbers don't lie. We realize so much. And this is something that I talk with families about too. We sit down and calculate the return on investment for a degree, right? Because every college has their own cost. Sometimes even degree programs are different costs within a college. And then you got to look at the average salary that they're going to make, right? Is it commensurate with how much money they're spending on their degree? Sometimes yes, sometimes no, right? And so this just blind, like you, I'm not saying college is bad, don't do it.
It's an option. It's a viable option. And I think sometimes even looking at quote unquote jobs, start looking them as apprenticeships, not just what is the money in the title or what looks good on my resume. What are the actual skills I'm going to learn here? Like, come into it. And maybe this a little segue of just looking at a gap year is the first thing I would do is even just like, what are all the ideas that I have in my head? What are the ideas that excite me? What are some skills I think I might want to learn as I pursue these ideas? And then also we kind of forget about like, who do I want to work with? Like, how do I want to work? You might be more introverted and you want to work more on your own. You might be more extroverted. You want to work with people. And these are the things that we're going to start discovering in a gap year. And I would recommend very broadly, and it could be however you want, but maybe once a quarter, every 3 months, you have a major project. So that at least it's a long enough time to give something a chance to see how you're doing at it, and to allow yourself to like get some decent mastery of certain skills. But I think within a year, if you kind of look at 4 projects inside of a year, you're going to learn a ton. I would argue you're going to learn more about yourself than ever before, and quite possibly more than you would in a 4-year college degree cases. I was a history major, liberal arts degree. I think liberal arts degrees are so important because they give you a great foundation of a lot of skills. But the price we're being asked to pay for them right now, my alma mater, and I'm not going to it's in public, I'm not going to tell you what it is, $60,000 a year right now. I am sorry, I cannot get behind that. I don't think that's reasonable. No.
Yeah, I agree. And I keep seeing degrees added that don't need to be degrees either. Do you know what I'm saying?
And also a lot of times where, you know what it is? This is hard to hear. Jim, can I say something really tough right now? And was it? This is hard to hear.
Give it to us.
When we are asking for college degrees, we're really asking for permission to say, we're okay. We're good enough. We're doing the right thing. You don't need their permission. You don't. There's lots of other ways to do this. And the last person we trust, which blows my mind, you would think we would have the most experience with this person, is ourselves. I always think somebody else has a better answer. As I always tell people, be inspired by other people. Look at them. Try it out for yourself. Experiment. See how it works for you. But don't just take anyone's word for it. No one. You have to know for yourself. And to me, that's the best part of our American culture. I think that's kind of the foundation of this country, is the freedom to think for yourself, the freedom to find your own way, the freedom to experiment. That is what has made this country great.
Yeah. And what a great time in a young person's life to have a safe place. A gap year can be that safe place where they can experiment with these things before they've committed to, something, a major financial commitment, or before they have other commitments in their life.
Like so many people, they could go into law school and they never worked in a law firm. I always tell people, like, that's a great example. Please work at some entry-level position at a law firm just to see what it's like before you sign up for that. I can't tell you how many people know they get law degrees, they get into debt, and they're like, I don't want to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
Oh my Why would we do this to ourselves? It makes no sense.
Yeah.
There is, because things are changing more quickly, because of the internet, because I think of the big crisis that we've been going through this year, I think more of us are going to challenge that. And it's asking us to be more focused and to clarify, what am I getting out of this experience? Like, we always say we don't have enough time, but there's so many of us who are just kicking the can down the road. It's like, get honest with yourself. If that is the number one piece of advice I can offer, Emma, is, and it's the hardest thing to do, is get honest with yourself. Even if it's just between you and a piece of paper or a screen and you're typing things out, nobody else has to know. But you're only kidding yourself if you don't get honest with yourself. And you're going to save yourself so much time to rip off the Band-Aid and tell yourself what you really need to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And one piece of advice that popped into my head with this gap year,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have to be all work related too. You could have like 3 months of travel, because I'm a big traveler. I'm living nomadically for almost over a year now by the time we release this. And I think you learn so much about yourself and people and opportunities. You get to see how other people live in the world. And I think that's super helpful. There might be volunteer opportunities. It could be a business idea, or you might really just want to focus on learning a new skill or a new sport. I think what a gap year does really effectively when you come out of it is the 3 most important life skills, I believe, is get really good at becoming self-aware. You get really good about leaning into your curiosity, knowing how to learn on your own. And you get really good about connecting with yourself, with the world, and with other people. You really start understanding, well, what energizes, really motivates me? What's my ingredients for motivation and what makes me feel productive? And who really lights me up, right? You can't be friends with every single person in the world. Respect everybody in the world, but there are certain people that are just going to draw more energy out of you than others, and that's okay. Emma and I right here, we are firing along. Like, Emma just lights me up and gets me super energized, right? Like, we just have that. There's other people that, I mean, that are like, they're really nice, but they're just not my jam, and that's okay. And I think we need to be honest with ourselves. A lot of times we want everybody to like us because it's kind of hardwired in our brains as a species to survive. But in modern life, most of us, we don't need to be liked by everybody. Be respectful, but find your people.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. Well, I think our time is winding down. So I just wanted to remind everybody here that you have that calculator gift. I'm going to include a link below this.
Lifeskillsthatmatter.com/calculator. If you have any questions, just email me. Happy to walk you through. And there's a whole video that actually walks you through every single thing of how to complete it.
That's amazing. I love it.
And it's good for teenagers, parents, no matter what stage in your life is. As I always tell people, most people can tell me how much money they made in the last year, but most people have a really hard time telling me how much money they spent in the last year. And I would argue that's the more important number. Where the heck does your money go?
Amen to that. Well, thank you so much, Stephen, for your time. This is going to be so helpful to so many families, and I really appreciate it.
I really appreciate the opportunity, and good luck. I'm just so excited for you to be at the beginning of your life, and you're living in really exciting times that you get to design a life with a greater amount of freedom than many humans have before. And someday you're really going to that's going to seep in and really inspire you in a way that maybe you can't even comprehend right now.
Amazing. Thank you.